Ever catch yourself making a financial decision and later think, oh, what was I thinking?
Hmm. Hmm.
Like maybe you panic sold stocks during a market dip or
Well,
splooshed on something you didn't really need.
for sure.
You're not alone.
Nope.
Today, we're diving into the world of behavioral economics with
Okay.
the psychology of money
Interesting.
to uncover why we make the money choices we do.
Cool.
Get ready to understand the hidden forces that influence your financial decisions.
Uh-huh.
It's more than spreadsheets and interest rates.
Right.
It's about the psychology of money.
It's fascinating how often we think we're being completely logical with money.
Right.
When in reality, our decisions are
Yeah.
deeply rooted in our emotions and past experiences. We like to believe we're in control. But sometimes those deep-seated psychological quirks kind of take over.
So we're not as rational as we think we are.
Not always.
I have to admit, that's kind of a relief to hear.
I know, right?
The book talks about emotions being at the heart of many of our financial choices.
Makes sense.
Fear, excitement, even regret.
Totally.
These feelings can totally hijack our best intentions.
They can.
You're right.
Exactly.
One of the most powerful emotions impacting our financial decisions is loss aversion.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's the idea that the pain of losing money is far greater
It is.
than the pleasure of gaining the same amount.
Like way greater.
And I've definitely felt that,
Okay.
like holding on to a losing stock.
Right.
Just because I can't stomach the thought of selling it at a loss.
Yeah.
Even if it's the logical thing to do.
Think back to our ancestors.
Okay.
For them, a loss could have meant starvation.
Wow.
So their brains evolved to be hypersensitive to losses. That instinct is still with us today,
I see.
even if the stakes aren't quite as high.
So it's not just me being stubborn. It's literally wired into our brains.
It is.
But if loss aversion can make us hold on bad investments,
Right.
like positive emotion, like
Yeah.
excitement also lead us astray.
Absolutely. Think about the dot-com bubble of the late 90s.
Okay.
People got so caught up in the excitement
Right.
and potential gains
Yeah.
that they poured money into companies with no real business plan,
Oh, wow.
ignoring the very real possibility of losing it all.
So they just got
Yep.
wrapped up in the hype.
Hype, yeah, that fear of missing out
Right.
could be a powerful motivator,
Yeah.
but not always in a good way.
So it's all about finding that balance,
I
right?
think so.
Not letting fear paralyze us.
Right.
But also not getting swept away by hype.
Totally.
Speaking of things that can sway us.
Yeah.
The book also delves into the fascinating world of cognitive biases.
Interesting.
These little mental shortcuts our brains use
Yeah.
to make decisions quickly.
They're like mental rules of thumb
Okay.
that help us navigate the world.
Yeah.
But they can sometimes trip us up,
Right.
especially when it comes to money.
Hmm.
Let's take anchoring bias,
Okay.
for example.
Okay.
Have you ever walked into a store and seen something on sale?
Oh, yeah.
Say a sweater for 50% off.
Uh-huh.
You might think,
Yeah.
wow, what a steal.
Right.
But that initial price,
Yeah.
even though it's crossed out,
Uh-huh.
acts as an anchor,
I see.
influencing your perception of what a good deal is.
Oh, that's so sneaky.
It is.
It's like the store is playing mind games with us.
Kind of.
So even if the sale price is still more than I'd normally spend,
Right.
that anchor makes it seem more appealing.
Exactly.
So it happens all the time.
All the time.
Especially in marketing.
Budget.
They might show you a ridiculously high original price
Yeah.
just to make the sale price seem more attractive.
Exactly.
So how do we avoid falling for this?
That's a good question.
Do we need to go into every store armed with price comparisons from
Yeah.
other retailers?
That wouldn't hurt. Okay. But you could also try setting a budget before you go shopping. Decide how much you're willing to spend
Okay.
on a particular item
All right.
and then stick to it,
Yeah.
regardless of the sale price.
So just because it's on sale
Yeah.
doesn't mean
The discount isn't a good deal
I need it.
if you weren't planning on buying it in the first place.
That's great advice.
Oh.
I'm definitely guilty of impulse buying.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when I see those limited time offer signs.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like my brain just shuts off
Uh-huh.
and goes into spending mode.
Yeah.
Speaking of those mental shortcuts, what
Yeah.
about confirmation bias?
Interesting one.
That one sounds a bit dangerous,
It can be.
especially when it comes to investing.
Confirmation bias is our tendency
Okay.
to seek out information
Uh-huh.
that confirms our existing beliefs,
Even if it's wrong.
even if it means ignoring evidence
Oh, wow.
that contradicts them.
Hmm.
So if you've already decided you're bullish on a particular stock,
Okay.
you might be more likely to read positive news articles
All right.
about that company
Right.
and dismiss any negative reports,
Oh, wow.
even if they're well-founded.
It's like cherry picking information to fit our own narrative.
It is.
Even if it's not the most accurate
Right.
or objective one.
Precisely.
And this can be especially problematic in investing,
It can.
where objectivity and a clear-headed assessment of the facts are crucial.
Very much so.
It's important to be aware of confirmation bias.
I think so.
So you can make informed investment decisions
Yeah.
based on solid research, not just your gut feeling.
Not just your gut.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So it's about challenging our own assumptions
Right.
and seeking out diverse perspective,
For sure.
even if they don't align with our initial beliefs.
Definitely.
It's kind of like being your own fact checker.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
It's about being open to new information
Yeah.
and willing to adjust your course if the evidence suggests you should.
I like that.
And speaking of how our brains categorize information,
Okay.
another interesting concept from the book is mental accounting.
Oh, yes. Mental accounting.
This one is so relatable.
It's like how we treat a tax refund as found money.
Yes.
And are more likely to splurge on something frivolous.
Exactly.
Even though it's really just our own money coming back to us.
It is.
Mental accounting is the way we mentally categorize money, often based on its source or intended use.
Right.
And while it can help us budget and prioritize spending,
It can
also lead to some irrational decisions.
For sure.
So it's not just about the numbers in our bank account.
Right.
It's about how our brains perceive
Yeah.
and value different types of money.
Different types.
That's fascinating.
It is.
And I'm guessing this ties into
Yeah.
how social influences can impact our financial choices as well.
You're right. It does.
Okay.
We're social creatures.
Mm-hmm.
And our financial decisions are often influenced by the people around us. We compare ourselves to others,
Right.
consciously or unconsciously,
Uh-huh.
and that can impact our spending habits,
Sure.
our investment choices,
Right.
even our career paths.
It's like that saying, keeping up with the Joneses.
Exactly.
We see our friends and neighbors buying new cars or going on lavish vacations.
Right.
And we might feel pressure to do the same,
Yeah,
even if it stretches our budget
for sure.
or doesn't align with our financial goals.
Exactly.
Social comparison can be a powerful motivator,
You can.
but it can also lead to overspending,
Definitely.
financial stress.
It's important to be mindful of these influences
Okay.
and make sure your financial decisions are driven by your own values and goals,
So not just a desire to keep up with others.
not just keeping up.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah,
It's so easy to get caught up in
Yeah.
comparing ourselves to others,
I know.
especially in today's world.
Right.
With social media, where
Yeah.
everyone seems to be
Sure.
showcasing their highlight reel,
It's true.
it can be tough to separate our own
Yeah.
financial aspirations
Sure.
from what we perceive others are doing.
The book also points out
Okay.
how our upbringing and early experiences
Uh-huh.
with money
Yeah.
can shape our financial habits as adults.
Really?
Did you grow up in a household
Hmm.
where money was a source of stress? What
Wow.
were your parents savers or spenders?
Now that you mention it,
Yeah.
my parents were pretty frugal.
Okay.
They taught me the value of saving and budgeting from a young age.
Interesting.
It's funny how those lessons stick with you.
It's not just funny.
Oh,
It's fascinating.
what do you mean?
Those early experiences create a sort of financial blueprint
Right.
that we carry with us,
I see.
influencing our attitudes towards money risk, even our spending habits.
Makes you wonder
Yeah,
how much of our financial behavior is learned
it does.
versus innate, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's where things get really interesting.
Oh,
The book goes on to explore the psychology of spending.
okay.
It turns out there's a lot going on in our brains when we reach for our wallets. Have you ever found yourself
Oh, yeah.
making an impulse purchase
Yeah.
and later regretted it?
Oh, all the time.
Really?
Especially online.
Online
A
shopping.
few clicks, and boom, another package is on its way to my doorstep.
I get it.
It's like my rational mind takes a back seat
Yeah.
when I see those flashy buy now buttons.
There's a reason for that.
Oh, is there?
Our brains are wired to seek pleasure
Hmm.
and avoid pain.
Okay.
And spending,
Yeah.
especially on things we enjoy, triggers the release of dopamine,
Yeah.
a feel-good chemical that reinforces that behavior.
So it's like our
Yeah.
brain is giving us a little reward every time we spend money.
You could say that,
Wow.
but the problem is
Yeah.
that dopamine rush is fleeting.
Right.
And often the regret we feel
Yeah.
after an impulsive purchase far outweighs the initial pleasure. It's like our emotions are hijacking our long-term financial goals.
So how do we resist those tempting impulses?
The book mentions something about
What's that?
paying with cash,
Okay.
being more painful than using a credit card.
Really?
Is that true?
I don't know.
There's actual research to support that.
Oh, wow.
Studies have shown that physically handing over cash triggers a stronger pain response in the brain
Interesting.
compared to swiping a credit card. It's like our brains register that loss more acutely
I see.
when we see the money leaving our hands.
That's so interesting.
It is.
Makes sense, though.
Yeah.
With a credit card, it's all digital.
Right.
It feels less real.
Less tangible.
So are you suggesting we all ditch our credit cards?
No, not necessarily, and go back to using cash. I wouldn't say ditch them entirely, but being more mindful of how you use them can definitely help.
So how do we do that?
Maybe try using cash for small, everyday purchases. And reserving your credit card for larger planned expenses.
Makes sense.
Or set a weekly cash allowance for discretionary spending.
That's a good idea.
The key is to find what works for you.
Yeah, for sure.
Those are great tips.
Thanks.
It's about being more aware of those psychological triggers.
Right.
And finding ways to counter them.
And speaking of triggers, the book also talks about how discounts and sales can exploit our fear of missing out.
Oh, absolutely. FOMO. Those limited time offers and flash sales are designed to create a sense of urgency, making us feel like we need to buy now or risk missing out on a great deal.
I see.
And that fear can be a powerful motivator,
I know.
even if we don't need the item. Or can't really afford it.
I've definitely fallen victim to that. It's like that sense of scarcity makes the product seem more desirable.
Totally.
Even if it wasn't something I was even thinking about before.
So how do we combat
that
FOMO frenzy?
One strategy is to simply be aware of it. Recognize that it's a marketing tactic designed to tap into your emotions.
Tap into your emotions, exactly.
Another helpful tip is to ask yourself,
okay with that.
Would I buy this if it wasn't on sale? If the answer is no, then it's probably a good idea to walk away.
That's a great question to ask.
Yeah, I think so.
It helps to put things into perspective.
Yeah, it does.
And it reminds me of something else the book emphasizes. The importance of delayed gratification.
Delayed gratification?
That's a crucial one.
Why is that?
Delayed gratification is the ability to resist the temptation of an immediate reward in favor of a larger, more fulfilling reward down the line.
I see.
And it's a skill that's essential for achieving long-term financial success.
I'll be honest. That's one area where I struggle. I'm all about instant gratification.
I hear you.
But I can see how learning to delay gratification can help with saving, investing.
It can.
And reaching those bigger financial goals.
Think of it this way.
Okay, how's that?
Every time you choose to save money, instead of spending it, you're essentially investing in your future self.
Investing in my future self.
You're delaying that immediate pleasure for the satisfaction of achieving a long-term goal, whether it's buying a house, retiring early, or simply having financial security.
That's a powerful way to frame it.
It is.
It's like we're having a conversation with our future selves.
Exactly.
And making choices that will benefit them.
And speaking of future planning, the book also highlights the importance of setting clear financial goals.
Setting goals. So how do we do that?
Without clear goals, it's easy to wander aimlessly through our financial lives, making impulsive decisions that don't align with our values or aspirations. But when we have specific measurable goals in mind, it gives us something to work towards.
I like that.
A roadmap for our financial journey.
So instead of just saying, I want to save more money, it's about being specific.
Exactly.
Like, give me an example. I want to save $10,000 for a down payment on a house within the next 2 years.
The more specific and tangible your goals are, the more motivating you'll be to achieve them.
I see.
And it's not just about the big picture goals, like buying a house or retiring early. It can also be smaller goals.
Like what?
Like paying off a credit card debt. Or building an emergency fund.
I love that. It's about breaking down those big, sometimes daunting goals into smaller, more achievable steps.
Smaller steps, exactly.
It makes the whole process feel less overwhelming and more attainable.
More attainable, for sure.
And speaking of breaking things down, the book also suggests identifying our personal money triggers.
That's a great way to gain more control over your spending habits.
I agree.
What are those situations or emotions that tend to lead you to overspend? Is that stress, boredom, social pressure, or something else?
That's a good question. I know for me, I tend to spend more when I'm feeling stressed or down.
I hear you.
It's like retail therapy. But it never really solves the problem, does it?
Right. It's a temporary fix. That often leads to more stress down the line.
So then what do we do?
Once you've identified your triggers, you can start to develop healthier coping mechanisms.
Like what?
Maybe instead of hitting the mall when you're stressed, you go for a walk. Call a friend or meditate.
Oh, let's try that.
The key is to find alternatives
that
address the underlying emotion without derailing your financial progress.
It's about building those healthy habits.
It is.
And finding ways to manage those emotional impulses that can lead us astray.
Lead us astray, exactly.
And it reminds me of another important point.
Yeah, what's that?
The book makes the value of financial education.
Absolutely.
Knowledge is power.
It is.
Especially when it comes to personal finance.
Especially
the more you understand about budgeting,
yeah,
saving, investing, and managing debt,
right,
the more confident you'll feel
more confident
making those important decisions.
It's like investing in yourself.
Right.
But in this case, it's investing in your financial literacy.
And there are so many resources available these days. It really is an investment that pays dividends.
I think so.
Throughout your life.
For sure.
The more you learn about personal finance, the better equipped you'll be.
You will be.
To make informed decisions.
Right.
Avoid costly mistakes.
Yeah.
And ultimately achieve your financial goals.
Achieve those goals.
And there are so many resources available these days.
I know, right?
From books and podcasts to online courses and financial advisors.
So many options.
It's like having a whole world of financial knowledge.
I know, it's great.
At our fingertips.
At our fingertips.
But with so much information out there, it can also feel overwhelming, right?
It can be a little bit,
Where do you even begin?
That's a great point.
Yeah.
I think it's important to start with the basics.
Okay, what are those?
Understanding your income and expenses.
Okay.
Creating a budget. And setting up an emergency fund.
Okay, those are good.
From there, you can explore other areas.
Right.
Like investing for retirement planning. Or even estate planning.
Estate planning, wow.
Yeah.
So it's about building that foundation.
Yeah. The foundation.
Of financial literacy.
Financial literacy, for sure.
And then expanding from there.
Expand from there.
And it's an ongoing process, right?
It is.
The world of finance is constantly changing.
It is.
So we need to be lifelong learners.
Lifelong learners, I agree.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
The more you learn, the more you realize how much there is to know.
Right.
But it's a journey, not a destination.
I like that.
And it can actually be quite empowering.
Empowering? How so?
The more you understand about money, the less intimidating it becomes. And the more control you feel over your financial future.
That's a great way to put it.
Thanks.
It's about shifting our mindset from feeling overwhelmed and intimidated by money to feeling empowered and in control.
Empowered and in control, exactly.
It's about understanding that money is a tool. It's not inherently good or bad.
No.
It's how we use it that matters.
It is how we use it.
And by understanding the psychology of money, how our emotions and biases can influence our decisions,
for sure,
we can learn to use that tool more effectively. And create a financial life that truly aligns with our values and goals.
Aligns with our values. I like that.
We've covered so much ground today.
We have.
From those sneaky cognitive biases to the power of delayed gratification and the importance of setting clear financial goals.
So many things.
It's amazing how much psychology plays into
I know, it's fascinating.
Our relationship with money.
It really is.
And I think one of the key takeaways from the psychology of money
What's that?
Is that it's okay to not be perfect.
Yeah, for sure.
We're all human.
We are.
And we all make mistakes with money.
We all make mistakes.
We've all had those moments where we look back and think, what was I thinking?
What was I thinking? I've been there.
But the important thing is to learn from those mistakes.
Learn from them.
And keep moving forward.
Keep moving forward. It's not about beating ourselves up over past decisions. It's about using those experiences as learning opportunities.
To make better choices in the future.
Exactly. And remember, it's a journey, not a race.
Not a race.
You don't have to have it all figured out overnight.
That's such an important reminder.
It is.
It's about progress, not perfection.
Progress, not perfection. I like that.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the psychology of money, what's one final thought you'd like to leave our listeners with?
I would encourage everyone to be curious.
Okay.
Keep exploring. Keep learning. And keep asking questions.
Keep asking questions.
The world of personal finance is vast.
It is.
And ever evolving.
It is.
And there's always something new to discover.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's about embracing that lifelong journey.
It is.
Of financial learning and discovery.
For sure.
And for our listeners who are eager to put some of these insights into action, what's one small step they can take this week to improve their relationship with money?
I would say start by identifying one financial habit you'd like to change.
Okay.
Maybe it's setting up an automatic savings plan, creating a budget, or simply being more mindful of your spending triggers.
Okay.
Even small changes can have a big impact over time.
That's a great call to action. It's about taking that first step.
First step.
However small.
However small.
And building from there.
Build from there.
Well, on that note, I think it's time for us to sign off.
Yeah, that's good.
It's been a fascinating journey exploring the psychology of money.
It has been.
And I hope our listeners feel inspired to take control of their financial lives and create a future that feels both financially and emotionally fulfilling.
Financially and emotionally fulfilling. I love that.
Until next time, happy financial journeys, everyone.